shot. K.
I would like to welcome you all here, all who come from far and wide, and those who have travelled from our neighbouring counties, of course, as well. As we stand by the grave of volunteer Patrick Gill here today, and the nearby grave of volunteer Tommy Durroy, we remember also those who passed away in recent times, those people who were stalwarts of the Republican movement. And while I'm not going to mention everyone by name, which would be possible, I want to mention Frank Gill, who passed away in just over a year ago, but who would have been here and was here in 2013 to lay a wreath at one of his relatives at part of his grave. He was a good friend to all, and it's appropriate that his son is going to lay a wreath later on. And right, the next 18 months now to come up to date is 18 months to 2 years will prove to be very important for Ireland and for Sinn Fein, both north and south, as we face into local elections in the six counties this year on the 18th of May, 1 month away, followed by local elections here in the Republic 12 months later. As for the general election, well, that could be any time. And the sooner the better. We are lucky here in this constituency that we have an outstanding TD in Martin Kenny, whom I'd like to congratulate on his recent portfolio as spokesperson for transport and communications, a portfolio that is of immense importance, especially here in the West and North West. To form a government after the next general election, we have to maximise our full potential. We will not be caught out this time. I want to thank all of those members and indeed non-members who have helped out to make this day a success. Thanks to the O'Dowd family next door, who are this house beside us, for the use of their electricity supply and parking area. Also to Alan and Shay for and staff at the Arts Bar, where refreshments and traditional music will be provided after this event. I want to introduce you to one of our newest and youngest members, Erica McTiernan, and ask her to read the proclamation.
The Provisional Government of the Irish Republic to the people of Ireland, Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and of the dead generation, for which receives her own tradition of nationhood Ireland, through us, summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Having organised and trained her manhood through a secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republic for Brotherhood, and through her open military organisation, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army, having patiently perfected her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment. And supported by her exiled children in America and by gallant allies in Europe, but relying on the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland and to the unfettered control of the Irish destinies, to be sovereign and indefeasible. A long usurpation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished, except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have exerted their right to national freedom and sovereignty. 6 times during the past 300 years, they have asserted it in their arms. Standing on that fundamental right, and again asserting it in the arms in the face of the world, we hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as a sovereign independent state. And we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to, and hereby claims, the duties of every Irish man and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all of its citizens, and declares to its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and all of its parts. Cherishing all of the children of the nation equally, and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government, which have divided the minority from the majority in the past. Until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland, and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women, the provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic in trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessings we invoke upon our Ireland, and we pray that no one deserves that which was dishonoured by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valour and discipline, and by its readiness of the children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worthy of the august destiny to which it is called. Signed on behalf of the Provisional Government, Thomas J. Clark, Sean McDermott, P.H. Pearce, James Connolly, Thomas McDonough, Eamon Cant, and Joseph Plunkett.
So ye but hard to do an oblig, Karimmer briefer kjolwer, hard in taken of go book cockatoy, since spare go mean real talk. Anot na hem sam barne well, legan I strek fellow knobel, segon I strek fellow knobel, shall be cunning around the
So we gather at this time of the year across Ireland to remember those who have struggled for Irish freedom. We come here to honour those who fought in Easter week 1916 and in every generation since. But especially we come here to remember Patrick Gill, at whose grave we gather here in Jamestown. Patrick Gill was shot in Drumsna, on the street from where we set off earlier on today. We recommit ourselves to the cause of an independent, sovereign and united Ireland, and a 32-county republic based on equality and social justice. And we remember today comrades that we don't have with us anymore from the past. At Easter we also, of course, remember the Good Friday Agreement, and it's 25 years ago since that agreement. And one of the people that we remember most in that aspect of it is, of course, Martin McGuinness. And we remember him particularly at this time because one of the key negotiators that brought peace and independence to Ireland. Rita O'Hare was buried recently in Dublin, and she was also one of the key people in the negotiations of the agreement and one of the key people in working with our exiled comrades abroad, particularly across the United States. Locally, I think since the last time we had an Easter commemoration, there were a number of Republicans in Leitrim that have went their way. Sean McLaughlin from Ahavas was somebody who would always be at every commemoration, and we will miss him, and indeed Frank Gucking, who was recently buried in Drumsna. This time of year we also look to the past and we remember many great Leitrim Republicans, and indeed in the roll of honour the first one that's read out is of course Sean McDiarmid, who was one of the signatories of the 1916 proclamation. John Joe McGarrell is one of the people that we remember when we come to commemorations across Leitrim, because throughout the decades John Joe McGarrell carried the light of liberation throughout Leitrim and indeed throughout many parts of the country. From an historical context, we look back 100 years. 100 years ago, in 1923, there was a counter-revolution taking action across all of Ireland as the Civil War raged, and indeed terrible atrocities and tragedies, and the tragedies of it all still haunts Ireland to this day. The British government's plan to divide and rule had succeeded. The British Empire had partitioned our country, maintaining its selfish, strategic and economic interests on this island. Locally, of course, there were many incidents at that time. And indeed, the Call-Lantine, and I see people here from Origna, that was in the early 1923 that they lost their lives, and many others, including, of course, on both sides of the fence. Paddy Muldoon, a doctor in Mohill, was shot, one of the tragedies of that time as well. So tragedy came on families across both sides, who took both sides of the Civil War, and it was a terrible time. But it is worth noting that without British guns, British money and political pressure from Britain, there would have been no civil war in Ireland. The British government supported the Orange regime in Belfast and the new Free State government in Dublin with the aim of destroying the Irish Republic. Thousands of Republicans, including women, hundreds of women activists, were in prison. The prison executions of Republicans continued throughout the first half of 1923, and so did the so-called unofficial killings of Republicans across the country. The British, Unionist and Free State governments thought they had defeated Irish republicanism when the Civil War came to its brutal end, but they were wrong. The treaty established a sectarian state in the 6 counties and a conservative state here in the 26 counties, but they could never erase the ideal and the vision of the Irish Republic. That ideal survived, and today, a century later, it lives and grows stronger than ever. Recently, in a Dáil debate, I pointed out to Simon Coveney that while his party celebrated 100 years of the Free State, it also marks 100 years of the establishment of a sectarian divided 6-county state built on discrimination and fear. I told him that afternoon that if one were to purposely design a model of a state that would be bound for conflict, then Northern Ireland would be that design. But much has changed since then. The Good Friday Agreement, we also, as I mentioned, mark here the 25th anniversary. The Good Friday Agreement brought an end to 3 decades of conflict in Ireland. The Good Friday Agreement changed the structure and operation of the 6 counties and put equality and justice into play. It stands as an historic international success story in peacemaking. An entire generation in Ireland has grown up in a time free from armed conflict. The Good Friday Agreement confronted the underlying causes of conflict and put reconciliation at the heart of the process. It has been endorsed by the people of Ireland, North and South. The peace and political process and social change ushered in by the Good Friday Agreement should never be taken for granted. It can never be taken away by those who would seek to undermine the hard-won progress for narrow political interests. The Ireland of 2023 is a very different place from that of 1998. The whole island has benefited hugely from the Good Friday Agreement, and we must not overlook the gains that have been made and indeed the opportunities that lie ahead. Tony Blair, of course, famously quoted a poem at that time when he talked of the hand of history being on his shoulder, and often gets a bit of ribbon for it.
But he also spoke of the burden of history being lifted. And that was a very good point, as history, or the past, can often be a burden holding us back if we allow it to. And as we gather at Easter to remember the sacrifices so many made in the past, we also must not be held down or controlled by the past. To do that would be to dishonour the heroes of our long struggle for freedom. Patrick Gill and his generation did not take up arms and fight so that they would be glorified or their deeds glorified. They and all since and before them struggled for future generations to live in a better Ireland, in a new Ireland. We Republicans are not about revenge or victory over another, but about fairness and rights and advancing the Republican ideals, best summed up by Bobby Sands in his famous phrase, "Our revenge will be the laughter of our children." I often think that when Sands said that, he was reflecting the 1916 proclamation, where it talks of cherishing all the children of the nation equally. Of course, it wasn't just children, it was all the people that's meant by that. And when Sands talks about the laughter of our children, he talks about the contentment of our people, about a new Ireland where everyone will be together as one. What a different Ireland it is today since the dark days of the hunger strikes. So much has changed. Today, 25 years on from the Good Friday Agreement and 42 years on from the hunger strikes, incidentally, this day, 42 years ago, Bobby Sands was elected in Fermanagh, South Tyrone, which is a magnificent victory for democracy and for the movement moving forward. But 42 years on since the hunger strike, it is an Irish Republican whose father was a comrade of Bobby Sands in the H-blocks, Michelle O'Neill from County Tyrone, who was the designate First Minister, in a state that was designed to ensure that that would never happen, that no one other than a unionist could ever be Prime Minister. That election, of course, in 2022, exposed a whole lot of things, and it exposed that unionism was no longer in complete control. That a changed political landscape has forced unionism to recognise that their future will be different to the past, and that they need to find a way to break free from the bondage of their history. Of course, the DUP has used the protocol as an excuse to boycott the political institutions. But let's be clear, the protocol is necessary to protect Ireland from Brexit. The recent agreement between Brussels and London on the protocol is done and has been adopted into EU law. It gives businesses a gateway to the British and EU single market. The opportunity has to be grasped with both hands to strengthen the economy and create good jobs. The executive needs to be put up and running, working for all the people of the North. It is time to move forward and to continue building peace and prosperity for all our communities. Sinn Féin is absolutely determined to work across party lines and to cooperate with others to serve everyone, working for all. We wish to build a successful, new United Ireland. And a successful United Ireland is more than just about bringing North and South together. We in Sinn Féin seek to build a new Ireland. Our ideals of social justice, democracy, fairness, public service and equality have come of age in this country. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, who banned that they had heard the people's call for change. However, since they assumed office, most of the pressing issues facing our people have only got worse. The most crucial of these issues is, of course, the housing crisis. The right to shelter is central to the exercise of all other rights: health, education, employment, relationships, family structures. None of them can work if people haven't a place to live. Today, our healthcare workers and our teachers cannot find anywhere to live. And guards I know are much more upset about not being able to afford or buy a house than anything that's on Twitter. Even student accommodation is a crisis across our country. We now have a young generation locked out of any real prospect of home ownership or even affordable rent. And now Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, supported by the Green Party, have taken the cruel and inhumane decision to make hundreds of families homeless by ending the no-fault eviction ban and without putting any emergency housing plan in place. Sinn Féin knows whose side we are on. We are on the side of the people. We are on the side of the workers. We are on the side of struggling families. Sinn Féin refuses to accept an economic system that is unequal and precarious for so many. We want to deliver investment everywhere, especially in the regions and rural communities that have been neglected for so long. Sinn Féin in government will use the opportunities in renewable energy and new technologies to bring better income, and sustainable lifestyles for working people of this region. Proper opportunity for people living in this region will require investment in our crucial infrastructure, like roads and rail, the Western Rail Corridor, for example. Development of affordable, safe and reliable public transport, and of course, communication service. It is here where the least has been done, is where the greatest opportunity exists. We refuse to accept an unequal and unfair distribution of wealth and power in Ireland. The old privileged establishment bought itself some time in 2020 by circling the wagons and banding together, but they cannot stop the demand for change. Ireland is changing every day, and a new generation is confident and ambitious. Sinn Fein will lead government in both parts of the island sooner rather than later. This state has had governments for big developers, governments for bankers. It's time we had a government for the people. Local elections in the north, as has been mentioned by John earlier, will be happening on the 18th of May. And we will be assisting our comrades in County Fermanagh to consolidate and grow our support. A vote for Sinn Fein is a vote for positive, progressive leadership and to endorse the work of delivering on the Good Friday Agreement. Our councillors will work to make our people's lives better and a better future for the next generation. This time next year, we will also be campaigning here in this state in local and European elections, and indeed we are laying the foundations for those elections now. We intend to elect our MEP, Chris McManus, and greatly expand our number of councillors. And indeed today I want to commend our two councillors here in Leitrim, Brendan Barry and Padraig Fallon. Sinn Fein is committed. Sinn Fein is committed to delivering for all our communities, at every level, north and south. And a key element of the Good Friday Agreement was that for the first time it provided a peaceful, democratic path to Irish unity. The conversation about Irish unity is growing everywhere, and a citizens' assembly is urgently required to prepare for that constitutional change. Unity referendums can be won, and won well. We will have to reach out to others and create space for others across Irish society to come on board for that project. The opportunity of moving to a united Ireland has never been so great. The old times are gone. In the north, the Unionists are no longer the political majority. In the south, the power of the two conservative parties have been broken. Sinn Fein is on the rise across Ireland, which means that all parties are adjusting their positions on Irish unity. The united Ireland we seek is one built on equality, inclusion and social justice with space for all. A stronger Ireland, a fairer Ireland, an Ireland fit for all of our people. A united Ireland that will be a fitting tribute to our patriots that we honour here today, and a united Ireland that opens its arms to everyone, regardless of the past and because of the past. Here in 2023, we are as determined as those that have gone before us to realise the vision of 1916 proclamation, an independent, united Ireland with a real republic built on the foundation stones of equality, social justice for all its citizens. Stronger together, and all Ireland together.